for the questions. Since this panel discussion is about machine learning and AI, I asked ChatGPT to come up with some questions for me. So I was just kidding. But this is happening, yeah? So this is happening. So I assume soon, whenever we hear a very interesting question, very interesting topic, when we read a very interesting essay, or when we review the papers of our students or the assignments, we would wonder, is it coming from AI, or is it coming from the person who was supposed to do it? So this simple example shows that, like any other technologies, new technologies, AI and machine learning has its own benefits. It can be extremely helpful and beneficial in many different ways, but it can also come with its own challenges. So today we're going to talk about some of the challenges and benefits of AI in industries such as food, manufacturing, and machining. So I would like to start with a question in machining, and my question is for Alexander. So you're an expert in machining. So based on your expertise, what do you see as some of the challenges the machining industry is facing now? How do we address them now, and how do you see the role of AI in addressing some of these challenges?
That's not one question, that's three.
And sorry, before starting, we are a little bit behind schedule, so I appreciate if you can keep the answers very short, yes. 2 to 3 minutes. Thank you so much.
All right. I see the biggest aspects that we're facing in the industry as more pressure on quality. The cost and liability of defect is increasing. So we have to provide zero defect, and it doesn't matter what industry it's going into. Other aspects that are really challenging is the lack of skilled labor and the increase in international competition from low-cost countries. How do we approach this problem? I would like to quote Thomas Jefferson, one of the founding fathers of the US. He had this brilliant quote. He said, "I believe in luck, and the harder I work, the more I have of it." And for me, myself, and for our organization, we look at it slightly differently. We believe in opportunities, but if you're not prepared for the opportunity is not really an opportunity. So right now, what we're looking at is, with one eye into the far future, where is the industry going? Where is technology going? Where do we need to be in 5 years and 10 years to be a leader? And then to bring it back to today and say, what are the items, what are the tasks that we have to accomplish today to be prepared for it? So in light of the fact that AI is coming, it will come at some point. I don't think it's going to be next year, but probably in 5 to 10 years it will be everywhere. What we are doing is we're looking at our internal network infrastructure. We're looking at how we will organize big data, how a big data lake will look like, how computing capacity will need to be laid out in order to apply artificial intelligence into the future. Challenges that we're really facing in that regard are similar challenges we faced with the advent of Industry 4.0, and the biggest one is cost. The second biggest one is the ability to find skilled and motivated talent to help us work through these problems. And an organization like McMaster University and MMRI, I think, are a great resource on that journey, and we're really grateful to have such a great institution in our backyard.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So my next question is for Kevork. So you just talked about the labor crisis in food industry, and we know that this industry is heavily dependent on labor. So based on your opinion, how do you think automation can help transform the food service industry? And also, what role can AI play in this technological transformation in the future?
Well, I think listening to everybody here, labor crisis has hit every industry. But I think the industry that's been hit the hardest is the one that we are servicing now, is the food service industry. 1.2 million employees in Canada. It's a $100 billion industry in Canada alone. And the background that me and my partners have from automotive and the industrial automation, I think gives us an advantage in being able to solve some of those problems. I mean, you're looking at, many industries that have transformed over the decades with automation. This is one industry that hasn't, hospitality, food service. And we see incredible opportunities there to employ automation solutions. And if you look at, data, restaurant, fast food kitchens, kitchen operations, which we look at as mini factories, right? We come from industrial engineering factory outlook. We look at these little fast food restaurants that in some cases employ 20, 30 employees as being little mini factories. And, you have to have process, material flow, consistency. And right now, these operations are black holes of data. They collect no data. So when we start introducing automation systems that have the ability to start collecting process data, data on temperature, on scrap, on customer orders, we have the ability to start using AI to be able to optimize these processes. So I think there's tremendous opportunity in the future, also with regards to sensing technologies, infrared sensors, vision systems. I mean, we're using vision systems right now to identify different food products and cook those food products to the exact same temperature time every single time. And you talk about material input variability. No material is more variable than food. It's not like steel where you order something to specific specifications. So highly variable, and we're seeing more advanced technologies being able to accommodate for that variability, and it's exciting.
Yeah, thank you so much. Actually, my husband just entered food packaging industry, so I can really relate to what you say. Thank you so much. So my next question is for David. What opportunities does 5G bring to the industry?
5G opportunities?
Yeah.
So, despite all the hype for 5G, I think the most important thing to recognize about 5G is that it's really just an enabling technology. And we've talked a lot about AI and artificial intelligence here, and maybe I'm dating myself, but when I started off learning about AI, it was all in textbooks. There was nothing available. There's no practical use cases at that point in time. They were all models, mathematical models, maybe some research into it, but since that time, technology has caught up, and now we have the computational power to be able to run these AI models and run them in the real world. We have the cheap storage available to us that can store gobs of information that are necessary to train these systems. So really, 5G is similar to that. It's an enabling technology, and I sort of liken it to taking a wireless network and applying the reliability, the low latency, and the high performance of fiber to a wireless network. And so it enables the types of opportunities like I had up there previously, things like augmented reality, which there's a number of different industries where that's being applied on. When I think about the augmented reality being used in like port facilities or warehouses where they're using the overlays on top of systems to identify objects out in the field, or in maintenance facilities where you have technicians looking at jet engines or even tanks. The U.S. military uses it for tanks, so that their service technicians out in the field have access to the information that basically only a SME would have in the real world. So, and then things like also the automatic guided vehicles, mining equipment. People are using autonomous vehicles All of those things are very common applications we're seeing now. Honestly, I can't say what is going to be the best application for 5G. That's why I like coming to these types of meetings and meeting up with people. If we can show what the capabilities of 5G are for people and explain them, you're the people who know your industries, you know your businesses, you know the problem sets that you have. You'll be able to quickly identify those areas where 5G will be able to assist them. And that's one of the reasons I think the MMRI is a great facility. I call it our best sandbox. It's, shall we say, a safe environment where we can actually test out applications and use cases in a real world environment.
Thank you so much. I know that the group of our students are working here and they're trying to use some of these capabilities that 5G brings to optimize the machining operation, so I'm sure that they will enjoy talking to you about this topic. So my last questions are more about how to implement AI in different processes. So my question to you, Mariam, would be, what do companies need to do to prepare to successfully implement AI in operations and making the data more accessible?
So the journey to implementing AI in operations for each company will be different and it will be unique. It depends on their starting point. So the first step would be to identify the North Star of the organization, to describe an ideal vision of the operations in 3 or 4 years' time. And next would be to perform an honest assessment of the company, of the organization starting point. So they need to leverage their strengths and they need to address the weaknesses that they have in order to adopt this digital transformation. And next, it would be to plan for the transition. So they should consider the barriers to change. They should invest in critical infrastructure, and they should, assign realistic midterm targets. So most of the leading companies, they started using data for decision making by using simple tools. And then as they built maturity, so they could move to more advanced and more sophisticated technologies. And the next step, which is very, in my opinion, important, is for the company to find a few use cases and some early wins to gain the momentum. So this is the way that they can have a better understanding of how AI, works with their workflow, with their system, and then at the same time they should plan and initiate the necessary changes in infrastructure, in talent, and in resources. And just very quickly, you mentioned about data. So data is the most important and the first factor in the success of this journey. So data, it should be reliable, it should be high quality, it should be accessible, and that could be a major role for winning the journey to this implementation.
Thank you so much. Very important points. So my last question is somehow concerning the human side. So based on your experience interacting with many different people, Medora, how can we prepare people for the changes that automation and AI can bring? What are the human resources that are needed in your opinion?
Well, I think one of the important pieces is there's an underutilization within the labor market of women, which is the focus of my work, in terms of getting them excited and engaged in technology, in advanced manufacturing and cybersecurity, and finding space. So one of the challenges is we don't have enough visual leadership of women. We have you, which has been very helpful for the women we're working with at MMRI. But we don't see enough women in leadership roles, and we need to tap on women and engage them in networks and ways of selling and talking about technology, AI, like Miriam beside me as well, to get them excited and believe that there's a place and space for them. Because what's happened in manufacturing and male-dominated industries is intentionally or unintentionally, it's alienated and marginalized women. And what we've seen in our program is that women working in organizations, companies that are in finance and HR, once brought into data sciences, advanced manufacturing, or technology spaces that they're typically kind of sidelined out of, get really excited and engaged, and they become innovators in their companies. And so I think it's really about being able to explore and expand the conversation and put different people on the stage to have that conversation.
And yeah, that's it for the panel discussion. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone.